All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, before I get started, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai Bahashim, Racha HaKwadash, double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth and rule well. Peace and blessings unto the hopeful elect, pushing his word throughout the four corners of the earth in truth, righteousness, and sincerity. To you I say shalom. This is the brother Yeshaya coming at you again through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. Back with another lesson. This one's going to be entitled, He That Helpeth and He That Is Hoping Shall Fall. Okay. And I got this article uh, from Euronews.com, which I'm going to go into, also bring out some precepts. But the title of this article, it says, Elon Musk's Neuralink says its brain chip can now help people move robotic limbs. You see, and this is something we've been telling, people, about the advancements of this technology, this C-hip technology, how Esau is going to be using this to pretty much guide the masses of the people into believing that this man can fix a lot of the problems that people have. Mainly these problems with people being disabled, people with certain forms of disability, or missing limbs, they're able to, live a normal life, so to speak, with this implant, you know, and the various technologies that it can connect to or connect with, right? But so let's we're just gonna go ahead and read into this, and then I'm gonna get some precepts, and Lord willing, this be an edifying lesson through the Rachak Wadash. So let's see, reading it back again. The title, it says, Elon Musk's Neuralink says its brain chip can now help people move robotic limbs. Okay, and it says people implanted with Elon Musk's Neuralink brain chip can now move robotic arms using only their thoughts, as the device moves beyond allowing people to control computers and smartphones, right? Because they used to call it what, a BCI, brain computer interface. You have that C-hip implant, whether it's Synchron, whether it's Neuralink or whatever, because best believe that all these companies that's working with that technology, it's going to be like the smartphones. It's going to be like the smartphones, it's going to be like the smart TVs, it's going to be, everything is going to be smart. Everything is going to be able to, connect with other devices like Bluetooth earbuds, right? You have your Bluetooth earbuds, they can connect with Apple, they can connect with Samsung, whatever phone, Nokia, whatever. It doesn't matter, right? But this is essentially, what we're seeing, right? We're seeing the advancements um, of these of this whole C-hip technology reaching a point where it's going to start reaching the masses. It's going to start reaching the consumer, you know, and that's what they're tailoring this for the consumer, for people to be interested and enticed into getting uh, uh, an implant, right? But anyway, going back to the article, it says in the video posted on X, Neuralink patient Rocky Stoutenborough, who was paralyzed in 2006, demonstrated his ability to move a robotic arm using his mind, bringing the limb to his face and kissing it. Participants in our clinical trials have extended digital computer control to physical devices such as assistive robotic arms, Neuralink said on X, which is also owned by Musk. Over time, we plan to expand the range of devices controllable via Neuralink. You see? And one thing I want to say, back then, like say like 15, 20 years ago, this type of tech, wasn't really even fathomed. Like you'll see about it like in movies and certain TV shows, like sci-fi, futuristic type of things. But now we're seeing it actually be here. We here, man. Right? The scriptures talk about I believe it's in Daniel. Let me get that real quick. Daniel 12 and verse 4, it says, But thou, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book even to the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. Of course, that's talking about the scriptures, but also it's talking about the advancement of tech, the advancement of, technology, right? And we're seeing that Esau with his research and his scientists and him trying to tap into um, these advanced technologies in order to forward his system, to forward his enterprise, is ultimately being thrown out here as a form of convenience, as a form of um, being beneficial for the masses, being beneficial for the people. Good for health, good for this, good for that, right? But ultimately, there's always an underlying plan when it comes to Esau's schemes, because this is all it is. This is a major scheme that Esau is planning, a big deception to get people to take this MOTB in order to have everybody marked, right, branded. Because all this is the ancient form of the all, or I should say, this is just a modern. The C hip is just a modern version of the all, right? All it is a digital all, right? Which is a mark of you being a slave, you being a perpetual slave to whomever you that mark belongs to, right? And we know that this mark is going to belong to the top bankers, to the elite, you know, the Rothschilds, the the Rockefellers, all the top families of the earth, you know. But this is the plan to try to get everybody hipped up, so that way everybody can become a slave, become a serf in this new world that they're imagining. All right. So anyway, let me go back to the article. Oh, as a matter of fact, before I go to the article, I want to get this as well. Um, I believe it's in Sirach. I believe I was there. Yeah, Sirach 14 and verse 7. It says, if he doeth good, he doeth it unwillingly, and at the last he would declare his wickedness. That's right. Esau presents this as being something good, something beneficial for the people, but ultimately, uh, this is all a scheme. This is all a form of deception to try to get people into backing him up, into you know um, pretty much agreeing with his system, with agreeing with the way things is going, right? But it says, reading the back, it says, if he doeth anything good, he doeth it unwillingly, and at the last he would declare his wickedness, right? Everything that he, like I said, everything that he does has always has a what's that term? Always has an ulterior motive. He always has an ulterior motive with things that he pushes out, like cell phones. Uh, it was just a means to track and monitor you. Now you have, if you search anything online, if you're shopping, he's able to take that data and send it to people, send it to, different business people or whatever. And now you getting pop-ups into your phone whenever you do some searches. You get pop-ups of what you about what you just bought, different ads, different advertisements, different things, right? But that's just one aspect. There's many, it's countless. Everything that he pushes is all a form to try to forward his enterprise, I should say. Now let me see. Let's get another one. Let's get Psalms the 55th chapter. Psalm 55 and verse 21. It says, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. The words His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. So let me read this in the NLT. It says, his words are as smooth as butter, but in his heart is war. His words are as soothing as lotion, but underneath are daggers. Right. And that's kind of how he's pushing this MOTB. He's pushing that as something good, something beneficial, for your health, for the betterment of mankind, blase, blase. But at the end of the day, this is all a weapon designed to infiltrate your mind, infiltrate your body, infiltrate your soul, you know, infiltrate your connection with the Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. You see? You gotta understand, this man has been created to be the devil. The scriptures talk about how this man is the most high sword. And the fact that he was given the blessing of the sword just shows the fact that this man uh, really has weaponized pretty much almost everything that you see, whether it's music, any form of media, news, the scriptures, food, right? This is the devil that the Bible speaks of, man, the so-called white man. But anyway, let me go back before I deviate too far off topic. Let's go back. It says Neuralink launched to help paralyzed people use their personal devices and regain some mobility using their own thoughts, right? So this is what they're saying, right? That the reason why Neuralink was created or launched was for the sole purpose to help paralyzed people, right? But that's not the case. This is this is just them virtue signaling, right? Because ultimately we know the plan, which is to fulfill biblical prophecy, right? Which we'll get into that Revelation 13. But it says it connects a person's nervous system to a device known as known as a brain computer interface, which can interpret their brain activity. The device is still in clinical trials, testing the implant's initial safety and functionality in people with specific medical conditions that limit their mobility. As of September, Neuralink has implanted its device in 12 people since January 2024. The first participant was a man who was paralyzed after a spinal cord injury, and the implant made it possible for him to play video games and chess. Other participants have had spinal cord injuries or uh, amyotrophic uh, lateral sclerosis, which over time affects people's ability to move their arms, legs, and body. Musk said more than 10,000 people have signed up for Neuralink's patient registry, hoping to participate in trials for the device. Neuralink is one of several companies working on BCIs. Other studies are exploring their use for people with cerebral palsy, dementia, stroke, and other health issues, according to a U.S. clinical trials database. Right, so that was pretty much it on that. But the point is that this is how they're presenting it as a form to cure all these problems, you know. But as we've been saying, these advancements are gonna continue to entice people into taking this MOTB, especially starting with these people that are disabled, have all these different problems that we just read. But uh, again, just going back to that point, man, Esau is really trying to get everybody on board with this, right? Let me get a Second Thessalonians. We always bring this out. Second Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 8, going into his lying wonders. But it says, and then shall the wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming. Right? How is that happening? How is he being consumed with the spirit of his mouth? Is by the way of the prophets, by the way of the truth, by the way of this truth coming out. It says, in the brightness of his coming, going on to the return of our Lord and the host of angels that's going to come and literally take him down. Right? Verse 9, it says, even him whose coming is after the working of Satan with all power and signs and lying wonders. So this man is going to come to do the bidding of Satan, right? The spiritual demon Satan is in communication with these top elite. Let's believe these top elite do sacrifices, do certain types of rituals, and they communicate with this demon, man. right? And various demons. You see, this is how they're able to do what they do, right? Satan gives them, this form of worldly power, but at the end of the day, as the apostles and elders always say, this man is in a trick bag, you know, because Satan ultimately works for the Most High. You see, but anyway, it says the latter part, with all power and signs and lying wonders. Let me read this in the NLT. It says, this man will come to do the work of Satan with counterfeit power and signs and miracles. Right? His pseudoscience, with his pseudoscience, he's going to try to do pseudo miracles. And that's what he's doing right now. Putting a, a C hip inside your brain and, you know, giving it some Bluetooth connectivity so you can control your robotic arm or your bionic leg. There was talks about Elon Musk talking about, you know, helping you, helping your eye to be able to see again, giving blind people their sight back. This is the same thing as what's his name, James and Jambries, man. I believe that's the name, James and Jambries. I believe that's the name. But that's the same thing as them, right? Whenever Moses and Aaron, went to meet Pharaoh, who resisted them? James and Jambries. They were able to, do uh, similar feats that Moses and Aaron were doing in the power of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, right? And this is the same, in the same spirit that these Edomites are coming in. These Temanites, these Amalekites, they're coming in that same spirit as Janes and Jambries, coming with their pseudoscience, coming with their advancements of tech to what? To bring in those lying wonders, to convince people and having them believe in their advancement of tech, right? But verse 10, it says, with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth, that they might be saved. Exactly. So when you read this in the NLT, it says, he will use every kind of deception to fool those on their way to destruction. You see? Because the scriptures talk about how the elect is not going to be deceived, right? The elect ain't going to be fooled with these tricks, these gimmicks, these pseudo miracles. But the rest of the people are. 2/3 is, right? But it says, because they refuse to love and accept the truth that would save them. Exactly. Those who reject this truth. Those who don't see the MOTB as being the micro C hip. Those who don't see, the Messiah being a dark skinned man. And a lot of points that the Hebrew Israelites come up with, man, or come out with, I should say, because we don't come up with this. The truth was given by Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. You see, but anyway, that's pretty much the point, right? How this man is gonna come with them pseudo miracles, them what's it called, uh, lying wonders, to convince the masses, and that's what he's doing. A lot of people are really are uh, becoming on board with this, are starting to accept implants, becoming bionic people. You have a video game, a couple years back that came out called Cyberpunk. What's that all about? All about cybernetics, getting implants, hacking your body, or I forgot what the term is. Pretty much getting all these type of cybernetics implanted in you, so you can be stronger, faster, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Let me see. Let me get from here Revelation. Let's go ahead and get Revelation. Revelation 13 and verse 16. It says that he causeth all Salakia, he causeth all both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. You see, he causeth. Let me get this. It's word for causeth. Because he's going to do it by various means. We see him now doing it by enticement, getting people on board by showing them miracles. Where's it at? Yeah, I went way down. It's up here. Causeth. It's
Strong's G 4160. Poieo. Poieo.
right. So poieo. It says to make with the name of things made, to produce, construct, form, fashion, to make ready, to prepare. Let me see. To constitute or appoint one anything, to appoint, to ordain, to declare anything, to put one forth. Let me see. To carry out, to execute, to perform, to a promise, to commit. The right here down here it says to make, to bring forth, to commit, to work, to cause, to show, to bear, keep, fulfill, deal, perform. Let me see. Yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. You know, but he's gonna do it through various means, right? Because eventually he's gonna come down with just, making it mandatory. You see over there in the UK, they're making it mandatory to get the what they call it, the digital ID. Well, in that same fashion, they're gonna make it mandatory to get this MOTB, and that's what the scriptures call the hour of temptation, where you ain't gonna be able to work, you ain't gonna be able to get paid or really operate within the economy and this new system that Esau is trying to bring out, which is all going to be digital, right? Which means you ain't going to be able to live. You ain't going to be able to pay your rent. You ain't going to be able to own, maybe even own land. Who knows, right? But we know that people who don't get it, you're going to be exiled from the so-called community, from society, right? So it says, reading it back, it says, verse 16, and he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. You see? Let me see. Let's get from here. Let's get this. Because even though, it might seem like these people who are lining up to get this, because he says it was like 10,000 people are lining up to get this implant or to sign up for the test trials, you know, and those who do eventually, end up getting this just for the sake of, you know, being helped, being uh just, getting it just for the sake of uh because Esau's presenting this as a form of help, to the people right now, to help you with will help those that have disabilities, help those who have some form of uh uh what do they call it, uh crippling disabilities, right? Well, he's presenting this as a form of help, but this is ultimately going to be a curse unto those who have it, who take it, because if once you take it, that's it, you're marked for destruction, you know. But this is Revelation 16 and verse 2. It says, and the first went and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the men who had the mark of the beast, and upon them which worshipped his image. See, so any of those who take the MOTB, you went over there to Esau, you thought that taking this mark would, help you live a functioning life in after Jacob's trouble, but not knowing that this is all going to be, short lived. This whole uh, uh, new society that Esau, is working up is all going to be very short lived. He ain't going to be able to, uh, uh, take this off the, what I'm saying, uh, pretty much he ain't going to be able to accomplish what he has planned, is my point, right? The Most High is going to upset him. He's going to disappoint his enterprise, right? His agenda, his NWO, all that is all vanity, because the true NWO, the true New World Order, is going to be established by the Lord, and that's going to be with the righteous being on top, and all those who sided with this beast, with this man, Esau, and decided to be a part of his system and took the mark. What's going to happen? They're going to have a grievous sword come upon them, right? Cancer, a cancerous tumor with pus leaking out, right? Because when you look at this technology that he has, it always has flaws. There's always flaws. There's always advancements that can be better. And then at the same time, the body rejects any foreign object that you put in it. You see, and then the fact that this thing, emits radiation, emits a form of frequencies, right? So best believe you're going to start seeing people come up with all types of tumors and blisters and types of different cancers and shit. You see? And I got another one, and I'll close it off with this. Isaiah 31. This is why I entitled it what I entitled it, because of this verse right here. Isaiah 31 and verse 3, it says, "Now the Egyptians are men and not God, and their horses flesh and not spirit. When the Lord shall stretch out his hand, both he that helpeth shall fall, and he that is hoping shall fall down, and they shall all fell together." You see? So at the end of the day, Esau is just a mere mortal. He might put out there like he's the top dog. He might put out there like he's God. He got it down. He got all the wisdom. He knows everything. You got a problem, he can fix it. No. At the end, it's gonna be found out that this man is just a mere mortal, and that he can't even save himself. So much less you people that are gonna try to seek for help. And when I mean you people, I mean you tribes, you so-called Black, Latinos, Native Americans, who, for some reason, which we know the reason, ultimately because the Most High picked 2/3 of our people to be wicked and to be destined for destruction on this place, right? But these wicked of our people, a lot of them are gonna take this MOTB. They're gonna line right up and take this thing, because they're gonna see that as a form of salvation. They're gonna see that as a form of help, right? But what did it say? He that helpeth and shall fall, and he that is hoping shall fall down, and they shall fail together. You see? So, as we always say, man, hey, seek the Lord while he may be found, call ye upon him while he is near. Because soon the brothers out there on the streets or making these videos, you ain't gonna be able to see them like you do now. This information, this knowledge, this wisdom is gonna be gone. Then what you gonna do? Right? The help is here in the form of you repenting and turning back to your power. That's where your help lies, man. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and close it out by giving all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahushai Ba'Hashem Rachak Wadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth and rule well. Peace and blessings unto the hopeful elect, pushing his word throughout the four corners of the earth in truth, righteousness, and sincerity. Until the next time, I'm gonna say Shalom, Kwam Yashala.